Michelle Whitaker disappeared on August 5th, 2002. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Michelle Whitaker's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her.
I knew something was very wrong. No matter how mad we got at each other, I always knew she was around.
A young woman struggles to get her life back on track. After a weekend of heavy drinking, Michelle Whitaker is last seen at a South Carolina truck stop.
She was easily befriended. She would take advantage of friendships and have a place to lay her head down for a period of time.
For 6 years, her family patiently searches and prays for her return.
It's hard to go every day of wondering, is she walking around somewhere? Is she alive? Is she healthy? Is she okay? Or is she laying in a ditch somewhere?
They begin to fear the worst.
I started realizing something's wrong. Perhaps something happened to Michelle.
New evidence haunts their vigil.
There was that feeling that this could be it. You was either gonna walk out there and find a body or you weren't.
Where's she at, Jason?
I don't want to go to my grave not knowing what's happened to my daughter. But if I do, I'll see her in heaven. I got a phone call, and it was from a gentleman about 10 miles away that apparently she had been staying with. And he called me and he said something's wrong, that he can't find her or reach her. And I'm not sure why I took him seriously, but I did.
It's late summer 2002, and Laura Andrews hasn't spoken to her 32-year-old daughter, Michelle, in 3 days.
Shelley was an adult. She usually didn't live at home, but she was in and out of our house. Sometimes she didn't always have the money or the means to be in her own place, but I always knew where she was. You know, I always heard from her.
In the weeks before her disappearance, Laura Andrews and her husband Chuck believe their daughter Michelle, or Shelley as she's known, is dangerously out of control.
Alcohol was her main outlet. And she had been drinking and getting picked up a couple of times, and I think she was just trying to run from her problems and didn't know how to do it.
As they had done once before, Michelle's parents make a difficult decision. After Michelle is arrested for public intoxication, her parents request that she be held in jail.
So we decided that it was necessary to make her face reality. To have to do that to your daughter was very painful. But it was necessary at the time. And it was painful for her. She was very upset with me.
There was a lot of frustration on the part of the mother trying to deal with some of the issues that perhaps maybe what she wanted her daughter to be as opposed to what her daughter was turning out to be.
Before she goes missing, Michelle is already known to some Spartanburg police, including Detective Alan Wood, who lives down the street from Michelle's family.
When I met her in late 1999, I thought she was a very active, attractive girl. Didn't seem to have any outward problems other than maybe some issues with her mom and differences of opinions of lifestyle and things, so she had some issues.
The third of 4 children, Michelle spent her childhood in Illinois before moving with her family to South Carolina. Growing up, She remained close with her brothers, sister, and her parents.
I don't know who this card is to.
Without kids of her own, she dotes on her niece and nephew and adores her dog Sophie. But the life of this vivacious young woman is becoming deeply troubled.
She married quite young, right out of high school. She was too young to be able to deal with the issues of being with someone like him. He didn't treat her well. It was extremely difficult, and it was a beginning of years of pain for her. And I think that set the stage for further problems down the road, which included substance abuse.
I think she just caught up in the wrong direction. She was drinking a lot. She was hanging out with the wrong people.
Miss Andrews asked me to speak to her daughter if I would. Maybe there was something I could do to help Michelle. Got her a job. She was making a decent hourly wage in a good location as a doctor's office. All she had to do was show up, and she was released from that job. It seemed like everywhere she went, she had the same accusations following her: money missing, those type of issues.
By 30, Michelle has had 3 failed marriages. It is in late July 2002 when Michelle is arrested on a drunk and disorderly charge that her parents request that she be kept in jail. Michelle is supposed to be held in jail until a spot at a local alcohol rehab clinic opened up. But that's not how events unfold. In a clerical mix-up, the order is never received, and Michelle is released from prison. When a concerned acquaintance of Michelle's calls, looking for her, Laura Andrews discovers that her daughter has been back on the street and is now missing.
When I went down to the police station, the desk sergeant said, "She's an adult. She can do anything she wants. We can't help you." And I said, "Well, I'm her mother, and I'm going to tell you that something is wrong."
As her worried parents try to locate her, Michelle picks up where she left off, hitting the roadhouses of Spartanburg County.
From the time she got out of jail to the time we put her at the truck stop, it appears that basically she was bar hopping from one establishment to another.
The day before she disappears, Michelle meets a pipe fitter named Brad Wines.
I was out riding my motorcycle. I just told on a leisurely cruise. I stopped at a bar. She was sitting by the door, peeking out the door quite often. Looked like she was afraid, so I went over and spoke to her. She had told me that her boyfriend had kicked her out of her house, and all she had was what she had, and she was, afraid of him. We left the bar, and then when we went to another bar, shot a couple games of pool, rode around a little bit, just leisurely riding. It was getting late, getting dark again, and she wanted to go to a truck stop. And I told her I'd gladly take her to a truck stop in the morning.
Brad Wines is the last known person to see Michelle Whitaker alive.
If you're the last person that was seen with somebody who's missing, you're suspect in that person's disappearance.
When you get a call from a detective, and they're asking you about a girl, and they tell you that you're the last person she was seen with, it was kind of scary to me, because I'm sure they wondered if I had done something.
I just had an uneasy feeling. I knew that she was kind of in a desperate mode, I think, because she was reaching rock bottom. So I think that probably was what gave me the really big fear that I had that something was very wrong.
days before she disappears, Michelle Whitaker was behind bars, arrested on a drunk and disorderly charge. But a clerical error releases her from jail early. In the 24 hours before she vanishes, Michelle Whitaker is laying low in local bars. At one place, she meets and befriends Brad Wines, telling him she plans to go to Myrtle Beach.
She had heard that she could make good money working bars, restaurants around Myrtle Beach. And I told her I'd gladly take her to a truck stop in the morning. Again, all she had was the clothes she was wearing. I gave her a pair of shorts and a shirt. She could sleep in my bed. I slept on the couch. So the next morning, got up, took her and dropped her off there, gave her a few bucks to get her a paper and coffee, and told her to talk to the truck drivers and good luck. That was pretty much it.
Police administer a polygraph to Brad Wines.
At one point, he was a little bit suspect, but there was never an indication that he had done anything or that anything happened other than what he said happened.
August 5th, 2002. All police know is that this truck stop is the last known place that Michelle Whitaker is seen alive.
My instinct at the time was, with the information we had, that she was being taken to a truck stop to catch a ride to the beach.
A resort town teeming with bars and restaurants, Myrtle Beach is a refuge for runaways. But a thorough search for Michelle by Myrtle Beach police reveals nothing. As weeks go by, without any word from Michelle, anxiety grows.
She may have gone a couple weeks without calling my parents, but she always called me. She always wanted, be around the family. Even if she was mad at somebody in the family, she would still come around.
You don't know what to believe. Sometimes I thought, well, maybe she's just mad at me and she's not talking to me. But that was not in character. After a few weeks, that was really not in character for her.
Michelle's growing absence also causes Spartanburg sheriffs to wonder about her intentions.
A lot of times when people leave, they at least take clothing, a toothbrush. She left with basically nothing. She left with the clothes on her back. That was it. She had a dog, they tell me, that she was real attached to. And everybody you talk to would tell you that she'd never leave that dog.
And I thought it was funny or strange that she had chosen to leave that dog behind for a period of time without at least a phone call back to her mom.
Frustrated and restless, Michelle's parents take matters into their own hands. Periodically, they travel around, chasing down purported sightings of Michelle.
They got some phone calls that there were some sightings at the beach in North Carolina. And my parents went out there for 3 days, searching all over, putting up flyers. Somebody apparently had seen her on a pier out there.
They also set up a website. After 6 months, Laura Andrews is second-guessing how she handled her troubled daughter.
The tough love thing. I don't know that I would have done it again, but she was heading down a spiraling road. And I think it was necessary to protect her from much worse things. To have to do that to your daughter was very painful.
Laura also worries if the effects of a brutal rape Michelle suffered in 1999 have played a part in her disappearance.
She was sexually assaulted. The man broke her face, so he really beat her up. What he did was totally unconscionable. But she had put herself in harm's way by choosing to go where she went. It was an unsafe situation that she got herself into. I don't think that she took my response as being terribly supportive, and I think that really hurt her, and I'm sorry for that. She had a feeling of worthlessness and that nobody loved her, nobody cared, and that was another blow to her self-esteem. Another straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, for her.
Michelle may have had her reasons for running away. What police find difficult to accept is that she has disappeared without a trace.
One thing I always thought of is, based on her reputation, that she'd have been picked up somewhere. And periodically, we'd run her rap sheet to see if she'd been picked up. I thought if she was alive, she'd pop up on somebody's radar showing an arrest.
After a year goes by, family and police can't help but wonder if Michelle has become a victim again.
I was starting to think that maybe she had been harmed. Maybe she had gotten on a truck or in a vehicle with someone that saw her vulnerability and did something to her.
I could see her mouth getting her in trouble. And if she found herself with a truck driver trying to depend on strangers or vague acquaintances, that perhaps she could have said something wrong to the wrong person and they hurt her.
Two more years pass without a clue as to what happened to Michelle.
This is Tom Smith from the Sheriff's Office in Spartanburg. I'm calling in reference to a missing persons report. It was truly a cold case. There was absolutely nothing going on with it at the time.
Periodically, sheriffs try to stir up leads on cold cases, however they can.
We're calling because we found your number.
Like re-examining old evidence from Michelle's file.
Okay.
On the 3rd anniversary of Michelle's disappearance, Laura Andrews and police visit the truck stop where she vanished. Local news picks up the story.
The mystery is now 3 years old.
Whether my daughter is alive or not, I just want to know.
Michelle Whitaker was last seen at a truck stop in Duncan, but not seen since. The Sheriff's Office passed out flyers on the 3rd anniversary of Michelle's disappearance, hoping to drum up some leads.
We try to involve the media as often as possible. There's no doubt when you put something out in the media, you're going to get some leads.
Days after Michelle's story appears, a strange letter arrives at the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office. Anonymous and handwritten on notebook paper, it claims to know the location of Michelle Whitaker's corpse.
Michelle Whitaker is located in Landrum, intersection of Lakeview Drive and Campbell Avenue, near Water's Edge, buried under tall pines, southeast end of pond.
The only thing about the letter that was interesting is it's pretty precise. It gave directions, it had a little map with it, and it gave an exact location. You was either gonna walk out there and find a body or you weren't.
The next day, sheriffs and cadaver dogs will converge on a rural area near the North Carolina border.
I'd say there was a little anxiety, a little, you know, that feeling that this could be it.
Chase, hunt him up. Where's she at, Chase?
In 2002, Michelle Whitaker disappeared from a South Carolina truck stop. After 3 years, without any clues to her whereabouts, police receive a fresh lead. An anonymous letter with a hand-drawn map pinpointing her buried remains. Cadaver dogs search a rural area roughly 25 miles from the truck stop where Michelle vanished.
The letter was intelligently written. It was so specific that it looked real, and that was frightening.
Come up, Dad. Come up. Atta boy.
What you look for when you look for a gravesite is a wallowed out or a hollowed out spot where the ground has settled in. That's a combination of the dirt resettling and the body decomposing and falling back in.
Logically and rationally, I was training myself to believe that she was dead. But there's always a part in you that she was okay somewhere. And, until you have that body in front of you, you have this evidence saying that she's not around anymore, you're always gonna hope. There's always gonna be hope.
But the dogs never pick up a scent, and the search is eventually called off. Investigators are relieved, but remain puzzled by the letter. A handwriting analysis and a DNA sample taken from the envelope suggest the letter was written by a woman, but the author is never identified.
Looking back, I think to myself, why would anybody do that? I mean, that was cruel because it gave me a real fear that my daughter was dead.
I don't think it was a hoax myself. I think it was maybe somebody that thought they knew something through some psychic power or something. I don't think that they did it just to watch us run around.
It wouldn't be long before new headlines bring Michelle's family closer to an even greater terror.
Deputies in Spartanburg carted Jonathan Vick off to jail. They say his arrest solved a 10-year murder. Investigators say Vick kidnapped, raped, and killed Dana Satterfield back in 1995.
The Dana Satterfield case, probably one of the most brutal killings in Spartanburg County at the time.
While investigating the Satterfield murder, police questioned Jonathan Vick in another unsolved case, the disappearance of Heather Sellers.
Heather Sellers is a young lady that was reported missing within 30 days of Michelle Whitaker. Heather Sellers has never been found. We know she was engaged, according to her family, to Jonathan Vick.
As police investigate the disappearance of Heather Sellers, they make some troubling links to Michelle Whitaker.
I was told that Heather Sellers, who went missing about 5 weeks after Shelley, was an acquaintance of my daughter's through where Shelley worked. They both worked.
Michelle Whitaker and Heather Sellers both worked at the Waffle House in Spartanburg County. During the course of the investigation, we interviewed a lady that had come forward.
The woman claimed that she had actually seen Michelle Whitaker and Jonathan Vick on a date that began at a Waffle House.
She describes Jonathan coming to pick up Michelle and Michelle changing out of her waitress uniform into clothes and then leaving with Jonathan.
And there was too many connections between my sister and this man. And knowing what this man had already done and what he was capable of doing to a woman was just outrageous. And at that point, I totally thought it was real. Totally thought it was real.
We interviewed some of the women he'd been in contact with. There was one young lady came forward. She told us some things about him, how controlling he was, how he actually threatened to kill her at one time. I think there's a possibility that any female that came in contact with him, there was a potential for some harm to her.
I had a fear that something might have happened to my daughter at the hands of Jonathan Vick. The way he harmed Dana Satterfield, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Police will soon re-interview Vick, hoping he'll offer information on Heather Sellers and Michelle Whitaker, or possibly even confess to their murders. Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. Michelle Whitaker has been missing since 2002. For 3 years, there are no solid leads. Then, investigators find ominous links between Michelle and Jonathan Vick, a Spartanburg man convicted of murdering one woman and questioned in the disappearance of his own fiancée.
I went to the trial for one day, and knowing what he had done was pretty awful. I wanted to see the man that might have harmed my daughter.
One witness told police that she saw Jonathan and Michelle on a date that started at the Waffle House where Michelle worked. Another claims that Michelle may have also rented a room to Vic's stepfather.
There was some sort of an agreement to where he might or was staying in a room in a house that she rented in a particular area of our county, and that it wouldn't be but maybe for one night every 2 weeks when he drove a truck and would come into Spartanburg.
If you take the whole thing, and again, there was nothing we could go to court with, obviously. This is like background information that you're building up and you're trying to develop suspects in the case, then he becomes somebody that an investigator has to look at. You can't dismiss him.
Now in jail and planning to appeal his conviction for Dana Satterfield's murder, Jonathan Vick denies involvement and has never been charged with a crime in the disappearance of Heather Sellers or Michelle Whitaker. With no new evidence, both cases grow very, very cold. Time passes uneasily for Michelle's family. In 2006, Michelle's parents moved from Spartanburg, 80 miles away, to Rock Hill, South Carolina. They keep their old phone number, never giving up the hope that Michelle just might someday call. A year later, on the 5th year anniversary of their daughter's disappearance, they gather family at a church to remember Michelle.
As a family, we've stood by one another. We've all cared about Shelley and worried about her. We hadn't had a chance to grieve. And when you've lost someone that long a time, the family that is still waiting for some word needs to grieve. I didn't want it to be a memorial service because we still hope that there might be a chance of finding her.
It was beautiful, but it was just horrifying at the same time because, I mean, you're sitting there having a vigil for your sister, and even though you don't know if she's dead or not, looking at her picture up there with candles and people speaking of her like that, it was as close to closure that we ever got. I think we pretty much at that point thought it was done for the most part.
After 5 years, Laura Andrews wearily faces the probability that she will never see her daughter again.
I've been in law enforcement 25 years, and people look to you for some sort of analysis on situations. You're obligated to a point to be honest, sometimes painfully. Their mother very pointedly asked me, "What do you think?" And I told her I thought she was dead. And we both agreed that there's no way Michelle, with her background and her issues, could be out here in this world somewhere without being detected by law enforcement or being jailed for something. And she understood and she agreed. And I think it was just a slow process of acceptance.
I think Laura Andrews never really wanted to give up hope, but if they'd have called her and said, "We'd found the remains of your daughter and we've positively identified her," although that would have been an extremely emotional time, you've lost a child, I think in the end, she was as prepared for that as any parent could be.
I don't want to go to my grave not knowing what's happened to my daughter, but if I do, I'll see her in heaven.
Another year passes. Detective William Gary is assigned to the case. He investigates dozens of cold cases and unsolved homicides from Spartanburg County.
And Michelle Whitaker's case was one of those. Her case was worked as a homicide, where she was believed to be deceased.
For investigators, 6 years without any evidence that she is alive is reason for them to suspect the worst. For William Gary, August 4th, 2008 began like any other Monday, but it didn't end that way. Out of the blue, he gets a phone call that transforms the case.
And a woman on the other end of the line started talking to him about Michelle Whitaker. And she said that she believes that she knows where she is.
In the 6-year search for Michelle Whitaker, investigators wonder if they have another false lead or the lucky break they've been hoping for.
I'm thinking there's no way that it would be this easy, that she's just there and using the name Michelle Whitaker.
Michelle Whitaker has been missing for 6 years. Police suspect that Michelle is dead, likely the victim of foul play. But her family still clings to hope. No one has given up completely. Michelle's file is now in the hands of cold case investigator William Gary when he receives a call from an Oregon woman who claims to know Michelle. Suddenly, there is reason to hope.
There was a woman that told me that she was in Oregon and that she knew that we had a missing persons case with the name of Michelle Whitaker. And she said, well, I believe I know where she is and that she's here in Oregon. They told me they had searched the internet, just doing a Google search for people, and they ran across MichelleWhitaker.com.
But Gary is skeptical. The name is not that unusual, and there have been false leads before. Wanting evidence, he asks the woman in Oregon if she can email him a current photo of Michelle.
And investigator William Gary showed me a picture and asked me who that was, and I knew immediately who it was, and I wanted to know where he got that picture. I thought it perhaps was an old one. She looked a little bit heavier than the last time I remember, and he said this was just emailed from Oregon. And I was like, wow, well, I'm gonna tell you, that's Michelle Whitaker.
An Oregon State police officer is sent to verify Michelle's identity. After some reluctance, the woman believed to be Michelle agrees to be fingerprinted.
Some of the information he relayed back to us about some of the things she says, I knew exactly that was Michelle, and she still had the same mouth as she did then, you know, when she was missing.
On August 5th, 2008, the very same day that Michelle had disappeared 6 years ago, Detective Alan Wood makes a call to his old friend Laura Andrews, Michelle's mother.
I knew for me to call her out of the blue was going to be something unusual and probably was going to perk her up real quick. Why is Alan Wood calling me? Me and Detective Gary talked about it, and we decided that it might be the best thing to do to tell her real quick we found Michelle and she's okay.
I was still asleep and the phone rang and I answered it. And it was Alan Wood from the police department. He said, we found Shelley and she's alive. And I think there was about a 5-second lag, you know, between the actuality and what you're hearing. I was stunned. It was like I was having a dream. It didn't kick in right away. It was a short phone call, and I was crying. And then, of course, as soon as I hung up, I had all these questions. Where is she? How is she? You know, what's she been doing? Just was a miracle happened.
But police must respect Michelle's privacy, and they do not tell her parents where she is or how to contact her. It is up to Michelle to phone home.
And we had told her mother a long time ago that if we locate her, there's no obligation on our part to tell you where she is, other than she's been located. And of course, we kept that promise. We tried to encourage her to communicate with her family just to put them at ease.
The very next evening, Michelle calls her mother. The exchange is captured by a local news crew.
Hello, who is this? Hi, honey. Just hold on a minute, Shelley. You know, the last time I saw you, I was upset with you for obvious reasons, but that's history. I have never stopped looking for you, not one single day. Dad and I have gone places looking for you. We've searched, we've put out flyers. Honey, we miss you.
Two weeks later, at the Atlanta airport, Michelle and her parents have their first encounter.
I put my arms around her at the airport, and I just held her and cried. And I can hear her saying in my ear, "Mom, stop crying, you're gonna make me cry." It was wonderful.
Michelle explains the moment in her own words.
I kept touching them and squeezing them and hugging them. It was like a ghost had come to life or something. I was like, oh my God, you're actually here. Oh my God, you're not mad at me. You don't hate me.
Good, I'm happy to be on the ground.
There will be time for hard questions later.
Well, hi there.
Now is time for a double celebration. Michelle reunites with her family and sees her sister, Linda, get married.
What better wedding gift than to have your sister found, you know, not even a month before you get married? She helped me do my hair and my makeup and, you know, get dressed and, you know, go do all the girly little sister things that never thought we would have done together. We did it.
That was the best thing in the entire world. I am grateful that I went down there and I made it because she's beautiful.
To be there for her sister and for herself and for us, and to have all my kids together in pictures at the wedding was the first time in a long time. And every one of them are beautiful and handsome, and I want everybody to know that.
Michelle explains what she's been doing since she left the truck stop 6 years ago.
I went from Spartanburg to Indiana to Virginia to Florida to Reno, and then I met the guy and ended up being with for 5 years.
During Michelle's odyssey, she would find love, friendship, and a job in Oregon, working as a nanny for a large family with foster children.
I live on a farm with horses and lots of dogs and 7 kids that I watch. I don't make a lot of money. I don't do it for anything like that. It just makes my heart happy because the kids are wonderful.
But Michelle's homecoming has unearthed long-forgotten memories of South Carolina and the dark days just before she disappeared.
I went to a restaurant, a Waffle House, and I went in with no money and ordered food. And then luckily the guy behind me, I'm gonna cry, paid for my food because I had no money. And that's stealing. I knew I had no money and I walked in there without it, but I was so hungry. And I was still drunk. And I walk in there and this guy pays for my food, luckily, and then gives me a ride back into town. And I mean, I could have been murdered, I could have been beat, I could have been something, and nothing happened, thank God, but wow. Sorry.
How could you remove yourself from your family for so many years without any sort of contact? I remember Laura's reflection that perhaps Michelle's spite towards her would have given her the persistence or the tenacity to pull this off for so long.
When you have someone missing for 6 years and it was voluntary on their part, that's not a reason to be angry. It's a reason to reflect and understand that there was a reason for it, whatever the reason was.
Before I left, her and I were so angry with each other, and she was saying things hurtful and I was saying things hurtful. My mom, in a nice way, said I was a piece of crap because She didn't like the way I was leading my life. I wasn't doing the nicest of things, like drinking and sleeping in cars. And she said that the family would be better off without me.
Of all the hard feelings between daughter and mother, the violent rape and its aftermath linger most painfully.
I needed my mom to say, hey, you know what? It's not your fault. My dad to say, it's not your fault. Nobody was saying that.
She was pretty devastated by that, but I stood by her in spite of the fact that the words I said to her maybe weren't what she wanted to hear.
I felt like everybody was 20 feet to the left or right of me instead of standing next to me and holding my hand and saying, it's gonna be okay.
She had chosen to disappear for 6 years. In her mind, she had associated me with the reason for disappearing, rather than her troubles. 6 years of no one correcting her memories to what they really should have been, what the reality was, left her with memories that were kind of not accurate.
When I holler for her...
Mother and daughter have met up since Linda's wedding, ready to reconcile and to try to make sense of what happened.
Didn't you ever think that I was just angry and hurt, and that's why?
No.
That never crossed your mind?
I never believed that you would leave Sophie. I never believed you would not want to see Grandpa or your entire family, aunts and uncles, everything.
I didn't want to disappear like I did. My goal was to live in Myrtle Beach, under the radar, go work at a bar, a restaurant or something. Had no clue they thought I was dead or that they were searching for me. I totally thought that they were happy I'd be gone.
The letter said that you had been murdered and you were buried up somewhere near Landrum, and there was a map and everything, and there were apparently, from what I understand, about 4 detectives that had gone up there for 2 entire days searching for your body.
I don't know that I'd have changed things. I would have tried to let them know I was alive because a lot of resources were used trying to find me, and I feel bad because it was wasted on me, but I had no clue they'd do that. None whatsoever.
If you had known that we cared that much, you think that might have helped you?
Yeah, had I known, I think it definitely would have.
So people have asked me, aren't you angry with her? And my immediate answer and my only answer and my truthful answer is no, I'm not. She was not in a position to think clearly about the consequences of disappearing. Maybe it was even necessary for her. I don't care. I care about getting my daughter back. That's all. You need to get your head wrapped around that your family never quit loving you and never quit wanting to see you and have you involved in our lives in whatever way was possible. And I think now it's possible.
We're relating totally different. She's letting me be me, so I have to just let her be her. If nothing else came of 6 years but that's awesome for our relationship. I think we'll have nothing but good things from here on out, you know?
I told her mother, I said, you're going to have to accept she is what she is. If she's happy, you ought to be happy for her. I think removing herself from South Carolina, if that has cleaned her up on the other side of the United States, so be it.
We still have a long road. There's a lot of steps that have been made on everyone's part to get the family back together and start living now.
And maybe 6 years is what it took for me and her to heal some of our relationship, because my mom and I, despite all the horrible things that happened, we were very, very close.
I lived it one day at a time, and we got through it, and she's back, and there's nothing to forgive, there's nothing to be angry over. There's just a second chance waiting for us, and we choose to take that.
They're happy that I'm in a good place, that I live in a good place, that I am in a good place mentally. They're very happy for me. They're proud of me, which was really nice to hear. I enjoyed that.
Lee Cutler disappeared on Saturday, October 20th, 2007. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Lee Cutler's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to him.
I miss you. I love you and I want you to be home. You're loved. If you don't think you're loved, you're loved.
A mother's youngest son disappears into thin air, leaving behind a trail of disturbing evidence.
After you find a note like that, you think that maybe it was a suicide.
But nobody can find this boy.
Had Lee been in the area that we searched, we would have found him, but there was nothing.
And foul play is a chilling possibility.
A chance of a kidnapping or an abduction has to be ruled out.
With new clues only complicating the case, loved ones are grasping at straws.
The fact that there's no sign of him gives a lot of power to the possibility that he was just trying to set everybody up.
We do not know what happened to Lee Cutler. It's a mystery.
Friday, October 19th, 24 hours before his disappearance. Lee Cutler heads to school, just like any other morning.
Stevenson High School is enormous. There's over 4,000 students, but it was a little tough.
I think you can get lost in the crowd much easier at a bigger school.
There's a lot of pressure within that school. I first met Lee when I was going my freshman year of high school, when he was a junior.
This is what I heard in school. He'd come over, and if he saw that you weren't happy or anything, he'd poke you. Or he'd come over and he would hug you, you know? He was just like that kind of a person.
At the beginning of his senior year, Lee isn't sure what he wants to do with his future. His prospects weigh heavily on him.
He really just wanted to make the people he loved around him and the people he cared about happy. He knew that would still hurt them to not see him go off to college.
Lee is undecided about going off to school.
I never had like a solid conversation, like, what are you gonna do? He answered not in depth, kind of like, yeah, I'll figure it out, you know?
After school on Friday, Lee is heading to a childhood friend's 18th birthday party. Lee's mom, Beth, and her closest friend will also be there.
Friday, we were all at a birthday party, and Lee was there, and Beth, and my family were all there.
Penny Clobridge and Beth Frazen feel they have known each other their whole lives and refer to each other as sisters. Penny works as a private investigator, but Beth never dreamed she would have to make use of Penny's investigative skills.
And they were serving things with meat, and Lee's a vegetarian, so they ordered him sushi.
When I first met Lee, I looked at him and I felt like I was back in my day. I'm from the 60s, so.
At the party, there is no sign that trouble awaits the very next day.
He looked like he had a good time. You know, everything was fine. And then after dinner, he was outside and he was playing hacky-sack. And they were talking and laughing. I had left to go home, and I was getting ready for bed. And I had my pajamas on, and he came into the room. And he says, Mom, can I sleep over at a friend's house? And I know all of his friends. And I asked who, and he told me who. And I said, okay, but you need to call me. When I say call, it means call at night and call the next day. You know, I'm a mom, and I worry. He says, okay, Mom, I love you, and he hugged me. And he hugged me for a long time. And you know, you never think about these things, but it was longer than usual.
Lee spends the night with his two best friends. A naturally social boy, many people think of him as their most trusted confidant. But Lee himself does not share his feelings readily with others.
Lee attends to his friends. He's there for them. If somebody's having a problem, he'll show up at their window at 2 in the morning.
From what I understand, he never, spoke to his friends about his problems that he was facing. I'm not sure how he coped.
At times, I think he felt like guilty if he was going to spring his own hurt as well as his own joys upon other people. But for the most part, he tried to keep his emotions to himself.
During the sleepover, nothing seems amiss to friends. But investigators come to find out that later that night, Lee is privately reaching out. Around midnight, Lee starts texting a close friend.
He had sent text messages to friends indicating that he was having trouble communicating. He didn't feel that he fit in, and so those kinds of things could be all seen as negative thoughts.
Lee's friend receives his texts, but doesn't think there's anything to worry about. She tells police that she knows Lee can get stuck inside his head too much, overanalyze. She tells him that everything will be fine. This is the last time she hears from him. Lee and his two friends spend the night playing video games and going to bed late. It's an average Friday night for these high school seniors.
I didn't hear from him at night, so I called his cell phone and I left a message, and then I fell asleep. Lee is notorious for sometimes calling and sometimes not calling. And in the morning, I called and didn't hear from him. And then I kept on calling. And
that following morning, Lee had drove Alex home before Lee had said he was heading to work. So Alex was the last person to see Lee.
Lee is a responsible kid. And as the hours pass, his mother, stepdad, and older brother are becoming increasingly worried.
I text messaged him, and then I decided I'm going to go to the mall because I knew he was working.
He worked at Rock America, which is a store in the mall. It was definitely his sort of place. He had a lot of Grateful Dead shirts and a lot of just old classic rock shirts.
So I went to the mall, and I went in the store, and his boss was there, and I said, "Is Lee here?" And she said, "No." And I went, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, maybe he thought that I meant to come in to start working at 5 o'clock. And my stomach just dropped. I had such a weird feeling. And I said to her, "Well, if he shows up, please call me right away." And I said, "And I'm gonna call you at 5 o'clock.
As Lee's mom struggles with her growing anxiety, she turns to her closest friend.
I got a phone call from Beth on Saturday, the 20th, that Saturday afternoon around 2 o'clock. And I remember this vividly. She goes, "Penny, I haven't heard from Lee since last night. I'm really worried. What should I do?"
Lee's family waits desperately to see if Lee shows up for work at 5 o'clock at the mall.
5 o'clock couldn't come fast enough. And 5 o'clock, I called her right on the button, and he wasn't there.
When she discovers he's not at the mall, Beth has a mother's intuition that something is terribly wrong. Nobody has heard from Lee this Saturday. But his friends are not yet concerned. Lee's girlfriend Autumn still believes Lee is at work at the mall. And his friends all know that Lee often likes to set off on his own, to think, and to meditate.
I figured maybe he was just at work and had his phone off or something. Maybe it had died because he'd been out all night and day before.
As day turns into evening, Lee's mom Beth and stepfather Barry become more frantic.
Beth started calling his friends, and they said that they're going to the bowling alley through his Jewish youth group around 8 o'clock at night. So Beth and Barry, around 8 o'clock, went to the bowling alley and waited for him, and he never showed up.
In 9th grade, Lee founded a local chapter of a Jewish youth group called B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, or BBYO. He became president of the boys' chapter and spent tons of time planning activities. Lee's cousin, Rabbi Ross Shapiro, understands what BBYO meant for Lee and his personal sense of spirituality.
While he probably wasn't sure of where he wanted to go with religion, he was certainly very sure that he wanted to be a Jew.
Many observant Jews wear a yarmulke, or kippah, as a reminder that God is watching over them. Lee has come to wear a yarmulke every day.
I mean, to wear a yarmulke in public, you really have to believe in yourself and in your religion, and I think BBYO kind of activated that pride for him.
When I was a freshman, I really liked Lee, so of course I wanted to see him. But he also said, like, if you really want to see me as a different person, come to BBYO. He felt like in that setting, he felt very comfortable. And he felt like he could take charge and fully be himself and not have to be so reserved and quiet.
But Lee doesn't show up at the BBYO event. It's something that normally Lee would never miss out on. This is the last signal Lee's mom needs to raise a red flag.
I immediately called the police.
Lee Cutler was called in as missing by his mom on the 20th of October, 2007. It was about 9:40 in the evening on a Saturday. Beth Frazen is obviously very concerned because this was uncharacteristic of Lee to just leave without telling someone.
What might have been a simple story of a teenager not phoning home is quickly escalating into an endangered missing persons case.
Buffalo Grove is a upper middle class suburb of Chicago, approximately 44,000 people. Quite a bedroom community, majority of it residential, highly rated schools and park district. We have a very low crime rate. It's very rare for us to have a missing persons case like this.
The investigation begins late on Saturday evening. By 11 o'clock at night, Lee's friends are starting to get concerned.
All of his friends knew all of his little places that he liked going to, and they checked all that out. Lee loved talking to truck drivers. He'd go to the Oasis and sit and talk to truck drivers. And he also liked going to a parking garage. And he'd sit there and just think.
Lee's friends scour his favorite spots for any sign of him, but they find nothing. Police are also searching for clues.
We did go through his belongings in his bedroom. We didn't have any indications there that he had packed things for a long trip. Friends had told us that from time to time he does go just for a drive, and that was our initial indications that maybe he did do that.
His friends went to the gas station where they think that Lee went to, and one of the attendants said, "Oh yeah, we saw him about 10 o'clock this evening."
If Lee was at the gas station at 10 this evening, only a few hours earlier, he could be nearby and not the victim of an abduction.
Being a private investigator, I thought, well, there might be something there. And it turns out we got to the gas station, the Speedway, and I said, do you have some type of a surveillance camera that was been taking pictures? And they said, well, yeah, but they couldn't do anything until the manager gets in.
It's late, and Lee's family and friends are anxious to learn as much as they can.
We're talking about 2:30 in the morning already, and I'm just like, well, can't you call them? I would have, but Buffalo Grove police were there, and so I had to step back.
The next day, the family learns that the surveillance footage has already been erased. But an employee at the gas mart did see Lee Cutler.
It turns out that it was not at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. It was during the day. It was in the morning.
This means that his last known whereabouts were not just a few hours ago at 10 p.m., but almost 16 hours earlier at 10 in the morning. This is a huge letdown for Lee's loved ones. From what they can piece together, he dropped his friend off at 9:50 a.m., drove straight to the Speedway gas station, and disappeared.
You know, that's not Lee. Sometimes he'll leave for the night, but he'd come home or he'd call Beth and let her know, but not like this.
But those close to Lee know that he relied on writing to work through his feelings.
He definitely was the kind of person who enjoyed writing down his emotions. That was his way of letting out his day and not letting it out to other people, but letting it out for himself to see. He was the kind of kid who always had a book with him at all times. Clockwork Orange, I think, was his favorite book ever, he said. He was also a big fan of Catcher in the Rye and Into the Wild and Harry Potter series.
The writing, the meditating. Lee is an introspective kid who feels the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Lee was just like a hippie. He wanted everybody to be together and be happy, and he was truly searching for that in his life. Lee was an anxious kid. He would get a little nervous about things.
It is this anxiety that causes police to rethink the case. Normally, if an adult goes missing, the law does not get involved.
If someone's an adult and they go off on their own and no crime's been committed, there isn't a criminal case there.
Lee turned 18 on October 2nd, only 2.5 weeks before his disappearance.
If he did choose to leave on his own, he certainly has the right to do that.
But this time, it is Lee's darker side that forces police to view this case as something potentially life-threatening.
See, Lee is an adult, and because of that, usually you cannot get an adult on one of these watches, at least for 24 or 48 hours.
In this case, because he had some negative thoughts and there was indications that there could be a suicidal tone to this, that met the criteria for an endangered missing child over the age of 18. At that point then, a teletype message to all area police departments was sent so that they would be at a lookout for him.
Lee had first shown signs of suicidal tendencies a 1.5 years earlier. His mother believes it was prompted by a relationship that was more than young Lee could handle.
Lee's first girlfriend, I really like her a lot. They were like puppies together. I know they loved each other.
Lee met his first girlfriend when she was a junior, and Lee was a freshman in high school.
When she was going to go away to college, she said to him, "You're going to come visit me all the time, and I want to marry you." And he says, "You know, I can't do that. I'm in school, and I can't, you know, I love you, but I can't." And he broke up with her.
Lee's mom says she should have known then that the breakup was affecting him deeply.
What I had heard was that Lee had brought a knife to school and threatened to commit suicide.
I got a phone call that Lee was going to kill himself in school. They took him to the hospital on a snowy day, and he wanted to get out so badly. I remember the hardest part was he said, "Mom, I have to get out of here." And I said, "You know, I can't let you out of here because I'm not sure that you're going to do harm to yourself. And I love you too much to have that on my shoulders." And he was mad.
Lee's family members now view this event differently, with hindsight.
I think now I wouldn't have made the same mistake in just kind of letting it be. It kind of became secretive. Sometimes it's funny, the things that you're trained to see in people who are not your family, you can miss when it's your family.
When Lee comes out of the hospital, he continues seeing a therapist.
I think when he was going to his therapist, he was just going along and kind of humoring, maybe.
After that, I think our discussions were maybe a little bit more shallow.
I think that the system kind of failed him. He wasn't opening up, and he wasn't doing his part. Having him in the hospital, I don't think that he really got a whole lot out of it. Yes, he did. He got a fear of if he was to relapse, he would fear that he would go back into the hospital. I mean, he tried to control his anxiety on his own, and I guess it was just too hard for him.
Perhaps Lee's text messages from the Friday night before he went missing are serious cries for help, and his thoughts of suicide are resurfacing.
Growing up's hard, you know? It's hard feeling like you belong and feeling like you know what you want to do in your future. I could see the struggle inside of him.
Despite the bond between mother and son, for the few months before Lee's disappearance, Beth had actually not been living in the same home as Lee. She had been staying with her mother, who had recently been diagnosed with cancer. But the separation was too much for Lee, and he asked his mom to move back in.
That was really stressful for him to be away from his mother and with his stepfather because he's a lot more closer with his mother.
Lee and stepfather Barry do not always get along.
There was tension in the family. His stepdad was volatile.
Barry was not a nice person to either of the boys. Barry wasn't a very faithful person, so he would tell Lee about that. He felt so in between because the only thing Lee wanted is peace. He didn't like turmoil in any part of his life.
Lee's personal history causes family and friends to worry about the possibility of suicide. But a solid lead will take the case in a whole new direction. On the very first night that Lee is missing, family and friends search Lee's room for any possible clues. They find something intriguing. Something is missing.
Lee had like a huge stein that had money in it, and which was probably anywhere from $500 to $800. It's gone.
$500 could get a kid a long way.
It's a possibility that he knew that he was going to leave and he needed money.
Police in Buffalo Grove are following every lead and every possibility they can think of.
We did get the cell phone records right away. There was no activity after about 12:20 in the morning on the 20th.
Detectives attempt to trace his cell phone.
In this case, his phone being off or out of batteries, it wasn't giving a signal to any cell towers, so we weren't able to use that as a clue to where he had gone.
And no new information is turning up.
Nothing came of any of those bulletins or those additional calls to the friends.
Suddenly, 42 hours after Lee is last seen, there is a major break in the case. A deputy in rural Wisconsin spots Lee's car, 177 miles from home.
On October 22nd, at about 3:40 in the morning, one of our deputies who was on patrol came across the vehicle, which was in the wayside. He ran a registration check on the vehicle. It came back as being a missing person out of Illinois. That was the first time that we've heard the name Lee Cutler. Once the deputy found out that the vehicle listed to a missing person, he contacted Buffalo Grove Police Department.
The investigators looked at the car, and they found nothing in there that would indicate any type of foul play to them. There didn't look like there was any struggle in there. The car was parked properly, it was locked up, it was secure.
His mother told me that they had found Lee's car in Baraboo, Wisconsin. I was happy for the good news, but also very nervous because I had no clue where in the heck Baraboo was, why he would be there. It was very scary.
More mystery. I was just, praying that he was still alive.
The deputy sits and watches the car from afar that night, in case anyone returns to it. Early the next morning, Lee's mom and stepdad decide to drive up from Buffalo Grove. They are desperate to find Lee alive.
Through the initial investigation, they expressed interest that if we locate him, to do a Chapter 5115 evaluation, which is a mental evaluation on him, just to make sure that he's mentally okay.
Detectives know that time could be a fateful factor for Lee Cutler. Captain Kevin Fultz initiates a major ground and air search with the Baraboo Fire Department and the Sauk County Sheriff's Department.
More than 50 people out here throughout the whole search.
With the fixed-wing aircraft, we put an officer up there with the pilot, and they were able to see down the rows of the corn. They could see to the ground. With the helicopter, we had a FLIR unit on it,
The FLIR is an infrared object that's used to detect different temperature objects. The heat of a body that comes off a body would obviously be detected very well with a FLIR.
As cops fan out across the area, officers quickly spot signs of Lee Cutler.
We located what I would call a makeshift campsite.
Lee's family identifies the belongings as Lee's. Distraught, they get in front of a local news camera to plead for his return.
This is breaking my heart. I love you so much. I have a void in my heart. It's just killing me. If you don't think you're loved, you're loved. You're loved. Your friends love you. Your parents love you. Your neighbors love you. That's it.
While family and friends stand by, there is still no sign of the missing boy. And what investigators find at the campsite is highly disturbing.
There was a box of Corticedin, an empty container of Advil PM, and a couple bottles of water.
The Advil PM is over-the-counter medicine that Lee has been taking for years.
Lee had a little bit of a problem sleeping.
According to the American Medical Association, an overdose of the ingredients in a bottle of Advil PM can cause extreme drowsiness, dehydration, stomach bleeding, and kidney failure. Ingesting a bottle of Advil PM could lead to comatose or even death. Recreational use of Corticedin can cause hallucinations and disorientation. If combined with Advil PM, the AMA considers Corticedin extremely hazardous, doubling the chance of heart failure.
He told me he would take pills to fall asleep, so generally if they just said they found it, it wouldn't have been so alarming, but the fact that they said they found it with no pills besides one near it, that's what was alarming.
Not 10 feet from where Lee's belongings and the empty bottle of pills are found is the icy cold Baraboo River. Captain Foltz decides the depths of the water itself must be searched. A dive team is brought in.
There are plenty of obstacles in this river, making it a very difficult river to work for our dive team. The team was able to use a side sonar, underwater camera, and then when they had to, they put officers or divers into the water and searched around these downed trees. The obstacles in there could cause a body to hang out.
They don't find Lee, but they do come across an item he holds dear to his heart, his favorite yarmulke.
It was pretty odd because, I mean, I know the kippah was very important to him, and I know that in the Jewish religion in itself, I mean, that's kind of like a sacred thing. I mean, I'm not quite sure if it's on the level with like a Torah, but I know that you would never leave a Torah on the ground.
The next bit of news was that they had found a note. Beth read me the note, and it was very dire.
I know it by heart. It said, "My head is too big for my body. Finally, I'll get to sleep. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm a coward. I love you, Mom. Please be happy." I took the note that he had left and I put it right next to my heart because I just wanted him with me. Anything that could bring him closer to me was important to me.
Beth had read the note aloud, and that's when the worry and shock set in for me.
For some, the note seems to have a devastating implication, but not to his mother.
That doesn't mean that he committed suicide. I mean, it's just a note, and it's like his feelings that he had a lot of thoughts and he couldn't clear his mind.
He always wrote so that he would understand it and other people won't. That was his style of writing.
Maybe getting away would be a chance for him to get some rest.
After 5 days of searching the river, divers find a pair of khaki pants and a belt slung over a log.
They matched what we were told he was last seen wearing.
The pants are hanging about 8 inches apart from the belt.
He was very thin. He was like a size 30 in pants, but he'd like him like size 34s. Lee used to like taking his pants off with the belt on and slide them off.
But the pants and belt are separated. However they got there, investigators are convinced that if Lee has gone into the river, they would find his body.
They combed the river. They determined he wasn't there because something would have been found. He would have been found.
But he is not found, dead or alive. Reluctantly, they call off the search.
My opinion, that is, if Lee Cutler was in that immediate area, we'd have found him.
Detectives are now without answers.
The fact that there's no sign of him gives a lot of power to the possibility that he was just trying to set everybody up to let him go.
I believe that their search was thorough. I mean, he really was not there.
Where Lee Cutler's vehicle was found, that's a state highway, 33, and about 7 to 10 miles away is the interstate, I-90-94.
It's a possibility he got a ride with a truck driver that was going to someplace.
People hitchhike in this area quite often. That's another possibility. He just wanted to get away.
Investigators find a clue that Lee may have been imitating an infamous young runaway when he disappeared. Get more Disappeared online at investigationdiscovery.com. In addition to searching the woods and the Baraboo River for Lee Cutler, investigators scour his abandoned car for clues.
Parents gave us consent to go in the car, looking for any information that might give us an idea where Lee was at. We found a lot of stuff that I guess a teenager would have in the car. Music, school papers, some clothes in there. We found candy wrappers.
And then, officers find a clue to Lee's whereabouts before he arrived near the river in Baraboo.
There was a mission-type ticket receipt for Kettle Moraine State Park, which is in Wisconsin.
I called over there, and it turned out that if you're a Wisconsin resident, it's $7. If you're from another state, it's $10. Well, he just paid $7.
Investigators are uncertain if Lee may be traveling with another person, possibly an in-state resident. While no evidence has been uncovered that points to a crime, police still don't know what has happened.
A chance of a kidnapping or an abduction is something that has to be ruled out.
They find another promising clue, a second receipt.
There was a receipt from Walmart in Madison, Wisconsin. The Walmart receipt showed the purchase of the Cortacedin and the Advil PM.
Detectives are hoping that they can find surveillance tape from the store that shows if Lee is all right and if he is traveling alone. They hit pay dirt. On Saturday, October 20th, 4 hours after leaving Buffalo Grove, Lee Cutler is very much alive.
On those surveillance tapes, Lee is seen walking out of the store. He was wearing the pants and yarmulke that was located up here at the scene. He was alone at that time.
Investigators can now map out Lee Cutler's last known whereabouts. Lee is seen by an attendant at 10 a.m. Saturday at the Speedway Gas Mart in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. 3 hours later, he is 134 miles due north at the Walmart in Madison. 23 minutes later, he pays the entrance fee at Kettle Moraine Campground, 50 miles east. He then drives 100 miles west to Baraboo and parks his car near the river. This is no meandering drive. Lee seems to know where he is heading. The car is found with the gas tank almost empty, but Lee passed several gas stations on his drive. This might indicate that he planned to leave his car behind.
I think it meant to me that he was giving up his car.
But it is inside the trunk of the car that police find the most intriguing clue.
And we found a book that was called Into the Wild.
Lee's two favorite books was Into the Wild and Catcher in the Rye.
The 1990s bestseller Into the Wild and the timeless classic Catcher in the Rye both portray young men struggling to fit into the world around them and striving to feel comfortable within themselves.
That book is about a young man that basically cuts his ties with his family and ultimately works his way up into Alaska and goes into a very wilderness, remote area. And unfortunately for that young man, he ended up dying up there.
They said that they found the book Into the Wild in his car, and the similarities were pretty striking. Just that it was this person who was kind of a smart, quiet, adventurous person who one day decides to just take his car and park it somewhere and leave all his worldly possessions and just survive and see what happens. And to me, that's exactly what it looks like.
But could Lee make it on his own in the wild?
He liked to be outdoors. He was able to survive for himself. I mean, that kid could live off trail mix the rest of his life if he had to. Trail mix in a bottle of water, even if it wasn't clean. He could make himself a shelter probably out of a leaf and a twig, and he'd be fine.
Investigators now believe that Lee has not perished voluntarily or involuntarily in the Baraboo area. Otherwise, they say, they would have found him. So where is he? There's another theory behind Lee's disappearance, connected to his spirituality. Lee's cousin Ross explains that the Jewish Torah is divided into sections, and every section is assigned a calendar day. The section that was assigned for October 20th, 2007, the day that Lee disappeared, specifically urges the faithful to head out on the road.
The section of Torah, when Lee left, starts out with the line, Vayomer Adonai el Avram, Lech lecha me'artzecha, u'moladetcha, me'beit avicha, el ha'aretz asher areka, which means in English, and God said to Abraham, go for yourself from your land, from your family, from the house of your parents, to the land that I will show you. This is the line that has always represented the spiritual journey. The beginning of finding God is to leave everything that you know behind, to question and to go off into the world.
Lee's family says he was observant enough of his religion to have known this section of the Torah was assigned to that day.
There's something about driving somewhere and not knowing where you're going to go that has the sense of spirituality and adventure, that kind of trusting in God. Just getting on the road and going, and I think Lee was really into that.
It would have been very possible that he just left everything and walked away.
But there's another possibility. Lee's faith could have taken him to an entirely different part of the world. As the days turn into weeks since Lee's disappearance, more and more theories of his whereabouts come to light. If Lee has not committed suicide, some believe he may have headed off into the wild, or he may have followed God's edict in the Torah to set off on his own to uncover his true spirituality. And there's another possibility.
My sister Jordana went to Israel on her own. She was supposed to come back, and she just said she loves it too much, and she stayed. And then she joined the Army, the IDF, for 3 years. And I know that had a strong influence on Leah, because he also really looked up to the IDFs.
The IDF is the Israeli Defense Forces.
He came to me, actually it was at this kitchen table. He goes, you know, Penny, can you talk to my mom? I want to go fight in the Israeli Army when I graduate in June. Can you talk to her? And I laughed. I said, you know, Lee, my son Steven is a year older than you, and if he wanted to fight in the Israeli war, I would say no. I don't want you to fight in any war.
The Israeli Defense Forces welcomes volunteers and welcomes non-Israeli citizens. When Lee talked about joining the Israeli army, He said he was motivated by the desire to bring peace to the country.
What really made me nervous is that because he's a boy, a man, that he could be involved in combat. And that really was heart-wrenching to me. I know that mothers have their kids going away to service, you know, in the United States or in Israel or any country. But the fear of your kid not coming back really upset me. He said, you know, Mom, I'm 18 and I'm gonna do what I wanna do and you can't stop me. I said, look, Lee, if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. Let's sit down at the computer and let's look into different programs for you to do. And we sent away for different, you know, information about it. And I never got anything in the mail, which is kind of funny, you know. I mean, Lee would always come home before I would and get the mail, so I don't know what happened.
Lee's love for Israel started when he went to Cousin Ross's wedding in Jerusalem in 2005.
When it comes to Israel, I believe it's like the place that he felt was where he belonged. It is where his home is. He felt like he wanted to join the Israeli army because he wanted to protect Israel and feel a part of it.
Detectives have not yet brought the search overseas, but Lee's cousin Jordana is attempting to get the help of Israeli police.
I don't know. You know, there's all sorts of theories. I only hope that he's alive. And if he went to Israel, I totally understand, because it's beautiful there. If he's there, please let his cousins know that he's there. It would be so wonderful for them and for us if he's anywhere, any place.
When the media was contacted locally and nationally, there were a few leads that came in as to sightings of Lee Cutler.
There was a possibility that he was found in Nevada. There was a young man sitting there watching these painters paint, and he looked very hungry and very scrawny. I said, okay, if this is true, that maybe he's at some type of a shelter. So I found out where a shelter was in the area, and I gave Beth all the information, and she took it from there, and we haven't heard anything more.
But none of these sightings have been confirmed as Lee.
Nothing that we can describe as being advantageous came out of the leads that were called in.
My biggest fear is that I'm gonna, you know, die and not see my son, and that's really upsetting to me.
This is one of those incidences that no matter how long of a career you have with our department, it's one that you'll always remember. A missing person that doesn't have a solid conclusion to it.
It took a piece of my heart. My husband passed away August 28th. He had a heart attack 3 days before that, so the oxygen wasn't getting to his brain. And Lee doesn't know that. So we have a house in Buffalo Grove with a meaning of it looks beautiful on the outside, but it's not so beautiful on the inside, and it's an empty shell. You know, with all the hope of having a loving, caring family, it just all fell apart